ask you something. What if you had absolutely everything you ever wanted? Unbelievable wisdom, more money than you could spend, all the power in the world, and you woke up one day to realize it was all meaningless. Well, today we're jumping into the ancient book of Ecclesiastes, where one of the most successful men in history does exactly that. The book just kicks the door down with that line. Right out of the gate, no warning, it throws this huge existential crisis at you. Meaningless, meaningless. So you have to ask, who is the person behind such a bleak statement? Well, the author is believed to be none other than King Solomon. Yeah, that's Solomon. A guy who is legendary for being at the absolute top of the food chain. We're talking peak human success, which just makes the central question even more intense. Why would a man who has it all decide that life is completely empty? Okay, so how in the world did he get to this point of despair? To really get it, we need to see the world through his eyes. And he has this key phrase he uses over and over to describe his perspective, life under the sun. This phrase, under the sun, is everything. It's the key that unlocks the whole book. It basically means looking at life from a purely horizontal, earthly point of view. What you can see, what you can touch, what you can achieve, all without any thought of God or eternity. And when Solomon looked at life only from this angle, he saw a huge problem. He saw that life was just this endless, repetitive cycle. The sun comes up, the sun goes down. The wind blows south, then it blows north. Rivers pour into the sea, but the sea's never full. History just keeps repeating itself. From down here, under the sun, it all feels like you're just running on a hamster wheel, going nowhere fast. So this depressing observation led Solomon to conduct this massive personal experiment. He thought, okay, if life feels meaningless, maybe I just haven't found the right thing yet. So he decides to go on a quest and systematically test every possible source of happiness he can think of. And he breaks it down into these 4 huge categories: wisdom, pleasure, wealth, and great works. He figures meaning has to be hiding in one of them. And here's the thing, unlike pretty much anyone else, he had the unlimited time and resources to chase each one to its absolute limit. And you can see just how deliberate he was about it. This wasn't just some phase. He was methodical. He says, I will test you. He decided to dive headfirst into every experience to hold nothing back, all to see if he could finally find the secret to lasting satisfaction. So what happened? What were the results of this grand experiment? Well, spoiler alert, they weren't good. He discovered that more wisdom just made him more aware of all the pain and injustice in the world. He called laughter madness and pleasure fleeting. He built incredible things, became richer than any king before him. And at the end of it all, he was still empty. So after trying literally everything the world has to offer, Solomon comes up with this powerful, unforgettable metaphor to summarize his final conclusion. Chasing after the wind. Just think about that image for a second. It's so perfect. You can run as hard as you want, stretch your hands out as far as they'll go, but you can never, ever actually catch the wind. It's the ultimate picture of effort without result. And that's what all his staggering accomplishments felt like. And then he hits on this crushing insight about death. He admits, yeah, sure, being wise is better than being foolish in your day-to-day life. But in the end, death comes for the wise man just like it comes for the fool. And eventually, time washes over both of their legacies until they're forgotten. Death is the great equalizer that makes all the striving seem pointless. You can just feel the bitterness in his words here. He starts to hate all his hard work. Why? Because he realizes he's going to die and have to leave everything he built to someone else. And who knows what that person will do with it? They could be a fool and squander the whole thing. That thought made his entire life's work feel like a joke. But right when the book feels like it's at its absolute darkest, everything pivots. Solomon introduces a radical shift in perspective. He stops looking at life only under the sun and starts to consider a view from above the sun. And here's the contrast laid bare. The under the sun view is all about human striving, and it always ends in frustration. But the above the sun view, well, it changes everything. Suddenly, your daily life isn't just a random series of events. It's connected to an eternal God. And simple things like work, food, and joy stop being meaningless distractions and start being seen as gifts from a divine hand. This new perspective leads to one of the most famous passages ever written. Solomon realizes that all these ups and downs of life, birth and death, laughter and weeping, war and peace, they aren't random. They're part of a bigger picture, a divine timing. There is a proper season for everything, all of it held within a wisdom far greater than his own. And he comes to this incredible conclusion about why we're all so restless. Why do earthly things never fully satisfy us? Because, he says, God has literally wired us for more. He's placed a sense of the eternal deep in our hearts, a thirst for something transcendent that nothing under the sun can ever quench. So, after this entire roller coaster journey through despair and back, where does it all lead? What's the final answer to that giant, screaming question of meaninglessness from the beginning? Well, here it is. After all the experiments, after all the searching, the final conclusion is surprisingly straightforward. He says the whole point of being human is to live in reverence of God and to follow his ways. Now, it's really important to catch that this isn't meant to be a list of restrictive rules. Not at all. It's presented as the path to real freedom and purpose. It's about aligning your life with the one who created reality itself. And it's in that alignment that you finally find the deep meaning and joy that Solomon searched for everywhere else and couldn't find. So, in the end, Ecclesiastes turns the tables and leaves us with this powerful challenge. It forces us to look at the limits of a life lived only under the sun, and then asks this massive, thought-provoking question: if everything we can see and touch is just temporary, what does it actually mean to live your life for something that isn't?